I'm making bricks. I've been scratch building this. It looks like a tower, medievalish tower. It's supposed to be a comfort for Age of Sigmar. It's kind of like this thundering tower thing on legs, with platforms, with people with guns and troops inside, all kinds of cool stuff. All I've got is this tube-looking brick thingy. But I want to get started on the platforms, and I figured I'm going to need bricks. So I'm making bricks. I'm going to be here for a while. Got a few bricks done. I'll probably need more, but that's a start. So the comfort has platforms essentially. If we have a look at the book here, there's like one big platform for the driver and the engine, and then there's another platform where this guy with the big gun, and there's actually another platform on the back. So there's three of these rather big platforms. I've got doorways here, three of them for entering the different platforms. But I realized to get the size right, I probably should have a miniature around just to see, what fits, how big the platform should be. I did first thought I'd maybe use these guard. This is the guards kit from Wargames Atlantic. It's pretty cool little models. And I thought maybe they could be the crew of the Comfort. But I'm not 100% sure about the size. So I should probably start with assembling a steel helm, which is a Cities of Sigmar model, and a guard, and just to check sort of size difference and figure out which one I should use as a reference for building platforms. Right, so the gentleman on the left is the steel helm. The gentleman on the right is the guard's kit. I've tried to make these two look like they're sort of driving something. This was originally a sword, could become the shaft of, an engine or whatever. Some kind of steering rod. Same here. This was a club of sorts. This one really looks like he's driving a car. Anyway, the difference is not huge, is it? The steel helm, the arms are thicker, the hands are a little bit bigger, the feet are a little bit bigger, but from a distance, on a gaming table, driving one of these big things, yeah. So maybe if you want to spice up your sort of Cities of Sigmar army, you could get a pack of guards from Wargames Atlantic. But I should probably take a look at those platforms now, shouldn't I? I've got some plasticard. Plasticard is essentially just thin sheets of plastic. Usually you can find them in hobby stores or sort of model railway stores and stuff like that. And just cut out the base of the platform. I've also got these I-beams made from plasticard. Like an I-beam in front and maybe just two strips of wood. This is balsa wood on the sides. And I want to do a wall just using these little bricks all around the little platform. The annoying thing is my bricks are not the same size. One step at a time. I have no plan. I'm just got sort of a visual idea, but apart from that, I don't really have a plan. So I'm just, this is usually how scratch builds end up. In my case, is you start and then you just continue and you get new ideas all the time, and sometimes things don't work and you have to start again, but most of the time you can just sort of solve things along the way. So far, all this is all very rudimentary in a way. There's not nearly as high, precise detail as there is on, say, a purchased kit. And one way of trying to get there is just to add high detail plastic bits from other kits. I unfortunately don't really have any fantasy kits that would fit. Instead, we're going to have to go to future bits from tanks and stuff. I've got bits from this Age of Darkness box back here, which is a Horus Heresy tank in there. It's got plenty of nice sort of metallic-y bits. And I've also got some bits over here, which is Conflict 47 kit. That is another build I'm never going to probably use. Now I want to add more bits later on. There needs to be decorations and, you know, ways of figuring out how this, where does this go? There we are. You know, something that looks like it's holding this whole balcony up and probably something underneath. But it's a really good start. It says here, the cogfort is fueled by a arcocombustor. It's by far the most precious component, fueled by refined amberstone. So it's kind of like a steam engine, I think, but fueled by magic rocks. And the pressure of the steam turns the wheels, that turns the cogs, that drives the legs and the big cannons and stuff. So for the next platform, I need a fantasy magic stone fueled steam engine. And so I built a little engine. I was watching a movie last night and I was kind of just kit bashing a little bit while watching the movie. So there's an engine. There's also, so here's the thing. There needs to be sort of visible cogs, right? Otherwise it's kind of difficult to convince people it's a cog fort. And so these little slits can hold cogs, right? We also need chains, something that sort of ties these together, you know, transfers the energy. And lo and behold, I have little chains. It's a bit fiddly getting that in place. The Miller part actually worked because I could stick the chain into it and figure the rest out. But that's looking sort of coggy. There's going to be one more cog down here, but I figured that should be added once the legs are on, right? Because me trying to build the rest of this with a big cog sticking out down here is a bit dumb. It's amazing how handy a tank from 30,000 years into the future can be when you're building a fantasy cogfort. I've based all of this around bits I found from the tank. It just gives us so much more detail. I've got place for the cogs here. We've got a spot for the engine there. This is going to be a spot for the driver, which is going to be nice. He's got his own little sort of raised platform there, driving the entire thing. And then I thought, I remember seeing in the book this sort of preacher on the top of the cogfort, like preaching out the words of Sigmar or whatever. And it's a fun idea. I figured a little sort of some kind of pulpit thing right there. And you can stand here and preach the words of nonsense out to the dying masses of orcs, as if they would listen. Now we're getting to sort of what I was thinking from the start. Again, this first platform, it's going to need some more work, but this second platform is, yeah, I'm pleased with that. I've been having a look at the other balcony. It needs to be pimped. Now, in regards to all these bits, I know there's always different thoughts on why to do things within the hobby that I'm not always sure that I think it's the right way of thinking about having a hobby. So I'm using a lot of bits from theoretically expensive kits, right? A Warhammer tank, for example, that I'm using, cutting up, is not a cheap kit. It's not just leftover bits and pieces, it's actually complete kits, both of these, the tank and the walker. And the thing is, I was just not going to use them. So is it worth what it's worth when it's just in a box that is never going to be put together, or is it worth something because you use it? You know, the value of something is not always the monetary value, but the value of having assets to keep on having fun when doing the hobby. And I think that's something pretty important when sort of zeroing in on projects is the hobby enjoyment value and not the other values or the costs or the time. And I think we sometimes forget about this, the speed painting of armies and you know, the expensiveness of kits or the cheapness of kits. Obviously, we all have budgets, right? We only have a set amount of money we can spend on our hobby, and that will dictate things. But I think we should also really try and make sure that hobby value is what dictates things. For me, this is one of the most fun things I've done in a very long time. And it's still just, it's honestly quite a long way to go. And it's that kind of is stressing me out, maybe just a little bit because of the time thing. But I'm trying to just sit back and enjoy the fact that I'm kit bashing each and every piece and not stressing about the future pieces that I'm going to have to kit bash. And if this project just doesn't get done in the amount of time I've done it, then that doesn't become as big of a thing because I'm just making sure I'm really trying to have fun while I'm doing it. Now, I'm going to glue some plastic bits on.